It's kind of like if we wrote in today's world, we wouldn't have to do much lifting for that because it would just be like, it's like I went to Kmart, actually, no. I went to Walmart.
Wow, you already failed at it.
I'm good at this game. Let me do it again. C- is still passing.
That's anachronistic.
Man says the world builder.
You're right.
Yeah.
That's how my family talks. I don't know how.
Yeah, sure. I know how you talk, man.
Yeah, sure, for sure, man. I mean, in this one, I do my mom's voice all the time, though.
It's like a Jamaican Mexican.
Oh, God, man.
Mexican.
Let me get some tacos over here, eh?
It's the strangest combination.
Let me get some
I've ever
jerk
heard.
tacos.
Jerk tacos. Jamaican jerk. Actually, the Jamaican jerk, like, chicken wings are, like, fantastic. I love me some of them.
And I think Jamaican food could actually, like, take on Mexican food when it comes to spice. Like, it's some spicy stuff.
I don't know. I think we in America have pushed that to its limit and just found the most like Scoville, like highest Scoville level of anything. Just so we're like, yeah, we're the best. I died from this, but you know what? We're good.
Just
now
like
I want there to be a fantasy race called Scobalds. Where they're just, where if you kill and eat them, they're really spicy or something.
They're delicious, but they're really spicy.
Gosh.
It's more about, for me, it's just about the flavor, not about the fire. And like, you know, my mom would always eat like really spicy food and she'd be like sweating and everything. And she's like, it's like lava and everything, but I love it. And she's just like eating
so
more.
Good.
Yeah. And she'll bite like, she's so Mexican. She has a jalapeno in her purse, like all the time. Like I wish I was making that up, but we'd be at a restaurant. It's like, they don't have any hot sauce. I'll like out of the purse and then puts it in there.
That's
and I'm just
not
like,
something you want to mix up with a tampon.
Absolutely not. Oh
it's still not either way. I don't care.
It was dark.
Ooh, and with
I love your mother.
Yeah. Welcome to Bars and Balladeers podcast, the podcast about story in all of its forms.
And Scovilles.
And Scovilles, apparently, which I never.
See the hot wing challenge on time.
Oh my gosh. Or that truth or bite or whatever they call it.
Oh, the new one they have on there. Yeah.
It's like, it's because Sean can't keep doing that.
Yeah, his stomach is dying. The guy who does hot wings or hot ones, Sean, it's hot ones, right? Yeah, but he does it all the time, and I'm guessing he's just destroying his stomach.
There's a bunch of people who do those challenges. I'm like, nah.
I can't do it. You won't make me do it.
I don't even want to watch it.
And no amount of money,
well,
I think is worth it.
So Conan O'Brien did it, and it's like a masterclass on comedy, timing, and just sticking to the bit. It is fantastic. Like other ones, sure, they're whatever. They're just interviews, but
I'll leave it to the professionals.
Yeah. No, like he's literally dying. Like, you know,
I think so too. But we're not here to introduce people from other YouTube shows. We're here to introduce ourselves. So I'm Kate. I'm an author of fantasy, sci-fi, and anything I want to write.
I'm Oscar. I write historical fiction, pirate novels. Got some sci-fi, some nonfiction, and some fantasy in the works.
Sure. And I am Rio. I'm a fantasy author. Got a comic book coming out set in the same world of Nevertold or Nevold. So look for that soon, hopefully sometime this year. But working on comic book stuff's fun. Yeah.
Yes. So all creatives in some way, shape, or form. And so you can make sure you join or subscribe to us. We are available on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. And the place where you can have the most fun with us is on Discord.
Yes.
So on there, we'll post antics, mostly antics, conversations, continuing conversations from previous episodes. Anything else? I mean,
did you see the video that I posted that day? You gotta watch it.
You gotta watch it.
Yeah,
like I was at work.
So yeah,
I get it wrong every single time.
No, it's okay.
And then for our personal channels and Bars and Balladeers website, we will have the links for all of those below, including all of those fun. Actually, I don't think the links for each of these platforms is on there. Anywho,
we can find them. You'll find them. You're smart people.
They're
it's a scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
As of right now, we don't have any events coming up. Is that correct, team?
Until the end of May.
Not until the end of May.
We keep talking about a live stream. We will make it happen, but we don't have a plan.
Yeah.
Right.
We just got to do it.
We
just got to pick a night and just do it.
Right. And
are you free this week?
It's literally the busiest week of our lives right now.
Right.
You'll hear about it later.
Yeah.
But today we are talking about creating and working in somebody else's created world. So
subletting setting.
Yes.
This is not just fan fiction. this is actually, I mean, it is a part of it, but
Yeah, that's included.
Yeah.
But just any kind of work in someone else's intellectual property within those bounds, whether it's for gaming or like licensed stuff like, authors for different Star Wars series or whatever,
absolutely.
Star Trek, all that stuff, or actual fanfic. That is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Which is a fun topic because I know Rio and I Valkus of the Greater Wilds, which is my first published novella, is something that I say that I got to write in his world. And so he created the initial groundwork for it, where he wanted to start, where he wanted to end, and then he just let me play. And
Be free.
Yeah, be free. So being able to create characters was super cool. But I don't want to dive too deep in. Sorry, guys.
No, you're good.
But yes, so this topic touches almost every single pillar of story, not just story, all of them, every single pillar of the creative process that we've talked about in previous episodes.
Right down to tone.
Right.
Which I feel like is a sub part of storytelling.
Yeah, definitely.
But yes, character, plot, world building, and storytelling.
Yeah, it's actually it's what got me to want to be a writer. I was, running role-playing games and I thought I'm doing half the work already. And
Sure.
I love the stories. I loved the stories I was telling so much that I wanted to write them. It's the first thing I actually wanted to write. And so I was working in someone else's world. And I mean, nothing inspires you like someone else's stuff.
Yeah.
And that's when you start creating your own stuff. Almost nobody really starts just creating their own stuff. Everyone's inspired by something. So
is this the Spanish Main story, or are you talking about Shadowrunner?
Shadow World. Yeah.
Okay.
It's the first actual campaign that I ran.
Gotcha.
Where it wasn't just episodic. There was like a through line for the plot. It figures the plot would get me to want to be a writer.
Fair enough. Yeah.
It's true. And remind me, is that that's mostly fantasy, right?
Yeah, it's that fantasy with like a science fiction background with the dead species,
future technology, but
like the race that used to run the galaxy, and then they're almost all died off, killed each other in wars.
Yeah,
typical.
Such. Yeah.
Forerunners from Halo too. Same kind of idea. Like they kind of populated the world, and then they kind of shut off the rest of the world and Earth and everything. And there's more to it than that. It's not that simplified, but all that technology. That's why they find the halos and everything. That's their technology. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know Halo, so that almost means nothing to me. I'm sorry.
I know it's a first person shooter.
Yes.
Right. And has a bomb ass soundtrack.
Yeah, it does.
Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah.
Bomb Quack soundtrack.
I like how we always correct it after the fact. I was just like, I still got to put in the quack. Like yours doesn't chronologically fix in the past.
Retroactively.
Yeah.
I used to work at the studio called Bomb Quack Soundtrack.
Oh my God.
That's actually pretty great. You joke about that, but I remember I was playing Guitar Hero or Guitar World when they actually brought in the drums and all that stuff and everything.
Number 4.
Is it number 4?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, we got to think of a band name and everything. And I'm just sitting here and I'm just taking my drumstick and hitting the couch. I'm like, Trashing Sofas. And that was it.
That's a great name.
And I love that name. If I ever have a band, it will be Trashing Sofas.
Trashing Sofas.
That will be it.
Yeah.
Some of the things that I want to talk to too, like how we talk about the working with someone else's world, but it's also being collaborative just in the grander sense. Like if you think about movies and everything, it's a vision of one director, but everybody does a little piece of that, and everything. So it's just when you make an orchestral piece to it, it is you can't, if you don't have the right type of music or the right sound of music, it's not going to fit in that world and everything. So you have to work with that, in that world. So if you have EDM inside Lord of the Rings, it would not sound right,
right.
even though the hobbits are going to Isengard.
The hobbits to Isengard.
Well, that's it. Sorry.
I know there are certain scenes in those now where if you're watching in a theater, everyone's there rewatching, people start giggling at certain scenes.
Sure, because memes and the internet,
or the voiceover when Frodo wakes up towards the end.
Sure. Yeah, but I mean, it's that kind of grander sense. I mean, I feel is really impressive when you can get that many people to collaborate and work together. But on the smaller sense, just if you have the world built, with Star Wars or whatever, and they know you're a good writer and they come to you and they say, we want you to write a book. And it's oh, I've got all the source material. You got this encyclopedia of just information, and you just kind of find a cool story. And that's why I always say there's so many ways and so many more stories that I know that's going to be in my world and my worlds and everything, because like it's not all here, and people can think of so many things. There's smarter people than me out there that will hopefully think of and write things inside the world and even together, like, you know.
Right. And it was a lot of fun too. And I think an important part, like you were just getting to, is that with the director, like there needs to be a clear vision for what the heart of the project. And I think that vision ties into that tone that you had referenced, Oscar, that the tone, whether you're like adapting something to a new medium, or like you're having somebody else write something new in the same world, I believe that tone is a very like crucial piece to it, because tone, I feel like, is something that at the end of the day, it's somebody likes a creative thing for a feeling that they get from that thing.
Right.
And if they're going to keep going back to that thing, they kind of want that same tone or that same feeling in that next thing. I think if it's in their face, they're going to feel like it's inauthentic. But if it's subtly done and if it just continues it on, they're going to feel more comfortable with it. They're going to feel more familiar with it and hopefully love it as much as the previous thing. And so like with the Valkas of the Greater Wild, just as an example, like the tone still had to be fantasy, but there was a slight challenge to it, because in the Never Told series, you're out in the wilds. You're with the outcasted people of Nivold. Whereas in Valkas of the Greater Wilds, we're starting with a character that's from the more civilized side of society. And so there had to be slight differences, but tonally, it still had to be fantasy. It still had to be whimsical and playful to some degree. And also like an underlying feeling of like wildness to it too.
Yeah.
And so just tone in general. I mean, what do you guys think about that when you see either things that like with Shadow World, or like things that you've seen where like in those like Star Wars series where somebody else is carrying on that same vision?
I wasn't previously used to thinking about tone in those words, but it's something I've always had a radar for, I guess. And it's actually one of the main reasons that I didn't like the theatrical versions for Lord of the Rings is that they totally changed the tone. I felt like the Ralph Bakshi one, whatever you think of the animation, or the BBC radio version, I feel like they nailed the tone. And there are certain other properties where I feel like the tone really mattered. Like the one piece of fanfic I ever read was supposed to be written like an episode. It was written as an episode of the old Highlander TV show from the 90s.
Oh.
And I read it and like, this looks like a Highlander episode from the 90s. Like they nailed it. I could believe it being an episode.
Sure.
To me, that's a success in tone as much as anything else.
Yeah.
Because things really can be jarring when you get that wrong.
Right. Absolutely.
And even for something that you love, like there's a couple of season 5 episodes of Babylon 5 where I'm like, I think like they were written by other people. And tonally, they're off a bit. And I've noticed there are a number of people who are like, I didn't like that episode, or I love that episode.
Yeah.
Like some people like that tone more, some less, but they all admit that it's different.
I like that.
I know for one great example for me that I actually came into about a few years back is the show Lower Decks for the new kind of cavalcade of like Star Trek
franchise.
And I saw them like, what is this crap? It was a cartoon. It was animated and everything. And I saw an episode, was like, they're making fun of Star Trek. I really felt like they just didn't care. But as soon as I watched it more, like they're some of the deepest like Star Trek fans I've ever seen, and any of them, because they know all the lore and they're pulling at all the things that like
they know all the lore.
Yeah. The datas and lore.
If you know, you know.
One thing too with that is that the type of animation is like after school, like cartoon animation.
Yeah, very Family Guy almost, Rick and Morty kind of a combination of
like Cartoon Network.
Yeah. Oh, that too, yeah.
You almost feel like that would be like much better if they just did it live action.
Right. And it's funny you said that because they actually did a crossover with Strange New Worlds, the other series that they have, where they came into the real world and then they had their voice actors playing them in the live action version of Strange New Worlds. Fantastic episode. And like, if you ever get a chance to see it, but it's one of those things that like the tone felt very off. Like I was just like, this is not cool. They're not they're not taking it seriously. But you find out that's not the point. But they can also like pay so much homage to Star Trek and still love it while making fun of it. It's one of those things like Orville. Orville is another great example. Like I was like, I knew Seth MacFarlane was a huge fan of Star Trek, guy who did Family Guy.
Yeah.
And he even has like this thing when he was from like his teen years where he did a Star Trek like parody, and he's like in this, and they're all shaking around in this old handy cam VHS kind of thing. And he obviously loves Star Trek because he's got a bunch of the actors on some of his shows. But when he did Orville, it was like there's jokes and everything. I was like, this can't be Family Guy in space.
Yeah. But
then you watch it more and you find no, it's just like he threads that needle, he threads that line and does a fantastic job. So again, it's a weird thing where tone can set you off, but it can also, if you do it right, can bring like both sides of that, parallel.
Yeah.
I agree. It can bridge the gap almost between like trying to thread that needle.
Yeah.
And with Lower Decks, I think also one of the reasons why it ended up working for you personally and probably for a lot of people that stuck with it is that not campiness, but that kookiness, that goofiness, like was consistent throughout the entire thing. And so by the time like you get to, season 2, you're almost looking forward to that part of it. And yet it's still Trek because they know the lore. They know all the stuff that goes into it.
They're actually like saying the things that we want to say sometimes. It's like, no, stop it, Q, leave us alone kind of thing,
I do think that working in someone else's world, one of the biggest dangers is the passage of time affects the tone. Like, because you start getting fans of the property who are like, they a lot of the time like different styles because that tends to evolve. And so you'll get like J.J. Abrams doing Star Trek or whatever.
Talking about Star Trek.
And you get a lot about, you get a lot of like modern attitudes and older stuff. And, some of that's like, well, we want to appeal to a modern audience.
Yeah.
But some of it is more like, I like a little bit more humor than this, or I want this to be more serious or whatever.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that tends to be one of the main features of reboots.
Humor?
No, like a change of tone.
Oh, sure.
Even with the new Dune, I just saw the second of the new Dune movies, and the whole thing about like Paul not marrying Chani or whatever, and like this was written by like a white, like the books were written by like a white dude in the 60s, whatever, and it was all like medieval politics. If you really think about it, it's done that style, but like at the end of the movie, like Chani, like she's out, she nopes out of there at the end of that movie. That doesn't happen. But for a modern audience, with a little bit more feminist sensitivities, like a little bit more equality, for self-respect reasons, she kind of almost has to.
Yeah. I feel you.
And I find that like that tone shift changes a lot of things for people. And there are some properties that stuck to it really well, but I noticed like some of those, the ones that stuck to it the most were in a shorter amount of time. Yeah. Like Dragonlance. Like you don't see modern Dragonlance stuff, but all the authors who wrote for Dragonlance, like they kept the tone pretty well. But, the ones that did, like modern retellings of other stuff, like the newer Doctor Who stuff is a great example.
Sure.
The newer showrunners, and I mean like 2005 onward, because that's what's new now.
Sure.
They liked it better when it was like horror or something, and they said that. And I'm like, I miss my sci-fi, I miss my exploration. And, one of the showrunners, you can always tell his episodes because the Sonic Screwdriver is more likely to do crazy crap that doesn't do in any of the other episodes.
Even though it can do anything. But
so it's like a magic wand or something at that point.
It
and
really
I'm like,
is.
This is not Doctor Who to me.
Sci-fi bridging science fantasy at that point rather than true sci-fi.
Right.
Yeah. And you're right. I do that time gap. It's almost like they're trying to change the tone for, like you said, a modern audience.
And for themselves sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, looking at you, JJ, like I mean, outside, and you've said this before too, outside of knowing Star Trek, the reboots are kind of fun.
No, they're great movies.
Who doesn't love Carl Urban as Bones? You know,
or
like
Chris Pine,
oh,
dreamy Chris Pine.
Yeah, or Zachary Quinto as Spock.
Yeah,
you know,
they, perfect casting.
Yeah,
like
so
it's just a
yeah.
script problem. I feel like tone too. But,
I think tone majorly.
Yeah.
Like they tried making it sexy Star Trek.
Well, J.J. Abrams even said like in an interview somewhere like I made a Star Trek that I wanted to watch. It's like you don't do that. Didn't make a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, it's like I changed the tone to be what I want.
Yeah,
that's the sort of thing you run into, and like there's a lot of debate to be had there, which we're not going to get into fully here because this is about working in someone else's world. But like the debate of like how much should you do that? How much is that okay? And it's like I don't know. I guess like if you sign someone on to work in your property, you're signing them on.
Right.
Like I had the same issue with Peter Jackson and Lord of the Rings and all that. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I don't know, like, the property wanted their money, I guess. So
right. You choose somebody for their specific skill set. And people wanted Peter Jackson, somebody wanted J.J. Abrams. But I think that ties into also the importance of like respecting the subject material and respecting the like original source material. Sorry, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's a huge part of working in someone else's world. Like you have to treat it with respect.
Yes. Right. Yeah. It's hallowed ground. Yeah. And I think that for me is I think the most fun part about working in somebody else's thing. I've written very little fan fiction. And anytime that I have written fan fiction, it's something that I've loved.
Sure.
And something that, maybe had some like school, like project to do something creative for. So do something fun. Right. And I think that respect will show through the art too, because it's also like something you have a passion for. I don't know.
A great example of this recently, and I don't know how much you're a fan of One Piece, but
I haven't seen any of it.
Yeah, it's okay.
People keep telling me to because it's pirates. No, but I have seen zero.
No.
Yeah, I mean,
you won't like it because it's nothing like pirates. It is about pirates, but it's not like classical pirates.
It's consistent.
It is consistent with its kookiness. Yeah. But the people that do that show didn't change the tone at all. It's still weird like the anime. It's still kooky like the anime, but it's got all the heart and the resilience that anime brings to the characters and everything. And that is why I give so much credit for it, because even if it isn't the best thing that I've ever seen, whatever, I appreciate everything that they're doing, and I always enjoy, and I feel, let's say, hopeful when I come out from seeing it. It is a good production and true to it, even though they're doing their own kind of things. They're fast forwarding a lot of the storylines and stuff like that, which thank God, because it's like 1,000 episodes on the anime. Yeah. But so I like One Piece for that reason.
Well, and speaking of one of the best examples I've seen where someone else came in and worked on someone else's property and actually improved it.
Oh.
But stayed with the tone was Wheel of Time.
Oh.
I feel like Brandon Sanderson finished that off well, but he took certain 2-dimensional characters and made them 3-dimensional.
Sure.
The only issue I have, I felt like the ending was too hurried. It's sort of like, I want to write my own crap now,
Oh, sure. I'm done with this.
I don't.
There's so much to it too.
That could have been Robert Jordan's influence, and hey, here's all the things you have to do, and it just felt like wrapping things up kind of mechanically, and certain storylines got lopped off where you felt like there was supposed to be more, and it's like, I don't know, maybe it just got out of control. I mean, it's 14 books,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot.
Or he's just trying to appease the final wishes,
right?
But
in general, I feel like he did a better job than Robert Jordan.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Controversial.
It's like, oh my God, someone who can write female characters.
Okay. We do like that. We do approve of that.
They're the ones with the boobs, right?
Oh my God.
I mean, that's everyone here. Well,
right. This is him voicing him. That's not my opinion.
Oh,
this is Robert Jordan's opinion.
Yeah. Internet, tell us.
Yeah, I did meet someone at a panel once who was like, speaking from as someone who met him, he didn't really understand women. I was like, okay, my perception's not off then. Okay.
Right. Sure.
Because he was always writing about, all the male characters, it's impossible to understand women. They all are saying that. And I'm like, I think you don't understand.
Right.
Yeah.
And the audience number is he didn't.
I mean, we all got our shortcomings, right?
Right. We all have our shortcomings, but we still try to do what we can with our tools to pay respect to that IP.
If we do it right, yeah.
Right.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. But if you do us a favor, like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. It really helps us out. And now you get back to the show. But one of the examples you guys were talking about before about like time being a changer of tone and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is recently I also saw a video game called Metroid Prime. There's 3 games on the GameCube and all done by Retro Studios. Fantastic game. It was a first-person version of Metroid. And they did a great job. People love them. Like, it's like one of the pinnacle of like, I still like the 2D scrolling ones, and Dread was great. But they did a 4th one and everybody was super excited. And it was being done by Retro Studios again. But it's 20 years later and the same people are not in Retro Studios anymore.
Right.
So yeah, they had the same thing. So the tone and everything was off, and there was like funny characters. And so like I don't want to say they don't know what a Metroid game is. And maybe there's some influence from Nintendo playing into that, but it just felt so just off. It just felt wrong a little bit, so it's still a gorgeous game. The creators should be given all the credit for it, but it just did not feel like a Prime, like a Metroid Prime.
It's like, when a Pokemon is a Ditto and not actually the Pokemon itself.
Still acting the same way as those Pokemon, but
just something not right about it.
It's funny. Like, I feel like one way that you really see that is between, how we all have our favorite character plot, world building, whatnot. For someone, it's going to be storytelling.
Sure.
So,
but if let's say the new people, like the old people, maybe we're like more plot people and the new people are character people.
Yeah.
That's going to cause a change. It's not necessarily tonal, but it's a change in emphasis. And sometimes that's refreshing. Like, like there are some old Doctor Who, you're just like, there'll be scenes where there's like the side characters, the secondary characters are in the background, just milling about, having to pretend like they're having a conversation. And it's kind of jarring. And now like they've resolved that problem because they've gotten much better at dialogue and character and whatever. Sure. But other times you're like, this just isn't the same show. There's no exploration in this sci-fi. Now it's all, fantasy and space or something. It's all snappy one-liners. I feel like the 90s was the decade of the snappy one-liner as a movie device.
Yeah.
And so when you get reboots and things, you see that kind of evolution.
Yeah.
Right.
And like, again, I'm not saying that you can never like have good things come with a change of perspective and stuff like that, because you do need sometimes to like a change of perspective.
Wheel of Time.
But yes, but it's just like it's when you just don't I forgot what I was gonna say. I'll cut this out, huh? Quit.
No, we're not cutting this out.
No, we're cutting this out. Oh, mother. Now I gotta keep it in. I forgot what I was gonna say, man. This is what you get. I had surgery a week ago, so I'm gonna blame that because
it was brain surgery.
Brain surgery. No. They got a little too close and they nicked my brain a little bit.
I can't point fingers. I can't point fingers at anyone. I'm forgetting stuff. Yeah. But like,
please continue because I don't know what I was talking about.
Yeah, but you'll get these changes in emphasis, and it does change. It fundamentally feels like it changes the IP, even if you're trying to be respectful. You're like, but I want more character,
Yeah.
And one thing that I've really seen, this is my perspective. You guys tell me if you think I'm wrong, but I think there used to be like 30, 40 years ago, which is ironic, but there used to be a lot more plot focused writers.
You know why that is probably?
Why?
Because they just didn't have the budget for a lot of this stuff.
Well, what's ironic about it though is that none of the shows had through lines, like had plots that were like consistent. So they were all episodic.
Yeah.
But they like the stories themselves, the individual episodic stories, like they were more plot focused. Maybe I'm just thinking of British stuff like Doctor Who.
I just think that you had to focus more on having that like a good concise story with a good plot and everything, because you only have this limited amount of time. Like it's 45 minutes with commercials.
But it's changed now.
It has changed now. Yeah.
I have a theory.
Please.
It's because especially the British were probably mostly inspired by stage production.
Sure.
And in stage production, there's often not like super intensive sets. They're like sets that can be moved or sets that can be like give just enough to give like the feeling or tone of the place that they're trying to like portray. Mm-hmm. It's my theory. That's the extent of it. Like
that scene in Apollo 13 where it's just like, we have these pieces. How do we fix the Apollo? the Apollo shuttlecraft and everything. I really think that like, because like to your point and everything is that like you have this, set, we can only do so much. We have this, and what can we do to make it new and be smart about it? Like, again, given that limitation, people got really smart about how to make this story and plot work. That's what I think.
Yeah, I don't know. Cause like,
I do.
The BBC, for example, has way more resources than they used to, or they allocate more of it for that sort of thing. They used to hate things like sci-fi or whatever.
Sure.
And, Britain still has this huge theater tradition, a lot of stage trained actors or whatever. But yeah, they used to really be like, hey, how can we make a low budget show? It's like, we'll have 2 sets and 4 dudes talking, and that'll be the whole show. Sure. We'll do Red Dwarf, we'll do Blackadder, we'll do Faulty Towers, whatever.
Right.
There's like 2-3 sets, the occasional other thing, and like this small group of characters, and it'll be all dialogue, just like we talked about with Frasier.
Yeah.
But
which is a great example. Yeah.
I think so too.
But yeah, I feel like there used to be a lot of like, and there used to be more like big, like where the sci-fi fantasy was more plot oriented. I feel like it's become more character oriented a lot of the time.
Right.
Or where the world building has become, with the budgets, that's where you really see more world building, because people are like, we can do better for less money.
The scope is bigger too.
Right.
And I
visuals,
have a theory on the character portion as well. I think people, not that they have become more self-focused or self-centered, but they like something more when they see themselves in it.
Yeah.
Which I won't get too far into that, but that's just a theory on why things might be more character focused.
And I do agree that they probably do focus and have like seen that and like, we got to make sure we check all these boxes. But you would watch shows like Star Trek or even Frasier or whatever like that, and you'd find the character that you like, that you empathize with, or that you spoke to you, regardless of what they were. Like, I loved Worf. I'm not a big old Klingon.
A lot of people love Worf.
Yeah, but it's just like, but I love Data. I love Picard. I love Deanna. I love Crusher. I love all these people for different reasons and everything. And it became because of how they reacted to situations rather than who they were. Like, not that I didn't care who they were, but like how they came to a situation mattered more to me. Like, because they had to save the ship. They had to be part of that crew.
Yeah, how do they
and the
figure it
identity
out?
is the crew more than it is the individual. I feel like that's
maybe it just evolved with camera technology too, because you used to have like even budgets, cameras, whatever. You used to have a few cameras that were like, steady cam or like, and now you've got cuts. Sometimes there'll be a scene will last like I've seen this in Downton Abbey most recently. Meaning I've been rewatching it. I've noticed this. Sometimes the scene will be literally like 8 seconds long.
Yeah.
And then they switch to the next scene. It's 2 other characters talking. And you can't do that with stage.
Yeah.
Oh, fair.
Yeah.
Can you imagine doing that on an actual physical stage?
Well,
that would be
they do,
frenetic.
But they have to be very like careful about it and very like using lighting, it becomes that competency porn, honestly.
Right. But you'd also have to have characters entering and leaving the whole time,
exactly.
or have it be like the set set up in pockets or something. But anyway, like I feel like the technology affects that as well. Like, here's the things we can do. No one has to be as effusive in their expressions because cameras can zoom in. Like, you can tell the people who are like, they've only done theater work where they're just doing too much with their close-ups.
Yeah.
And like, that's just over the top.
Yeah.
Right.
Like Keira Knightley. Because she'll
Oh my God. I've never noticed that.
Oh my God,
we
you're
do
gonna
not
notice it
disgrace
now.
the name of Keira Knightley
I love
in this
Keira
house.
Knightley, but she makes faces, man.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I'm never going to watch Pride and Prejudice the same way now.
Or Pirates of the Caribbean. I mean, just like.
Before that, she was, before Pirates of the Caribbean, she was in a version of Oliver Twist that I really like.
Oh.
She had a good job.
Okay.
But I don't know. Like, she's grown up on TV and movies, so that's good at least. But,
Yeah.
Yes.
But I feel like all of these things influence that. But again, like sometimes it just doesn't feel like the same property. So but yeah, like just moving on from that, I guess, like what are the difficulties? Like, I know you've written in his stuff, like what are the biggest difficulties that you ran into or the biggest challenges with that?
I think for me,
Because I feel like you want to disrespect him, but
I do. And it's
But
very
it's just
difficult
like,
to.
only honor
he's
the
very
marriage,
resilient.
but my writing, I don't care. You can do whatever. Like,
No, I think the hardest part wasn't the characters because I got to create my own. The names did have to fit in the world. That was a very careful thing. names. It's important.
I have a whole thing about that, but go for it. Yeah.
You can write that down if you want. So it was the names, had to be careful with that. It was the magic system and the technology. I lump them together.
Yeah.
Because they're kind of the same like bucket, the same category, just like different.
How do things work?
Yeah. And
That's
so thankfully, like what I would do is I would give my like as much of a description as I could. And usually like me either put it in brackets or like leave a comment on it because we would use Google Drive. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
I mean, it's just what we use.
I don't know. Do we
it's
have
a free
like,
product.
It is a free product. Okay.
Google's its own country now.
Okay.
So whatever.
Yeah,
Right.
basically.
They got the GDP of one.
And so I would leave a comment there, say like, hey, like flesh this out because I know my experience and knowledge is lacking in the thing. And so that was when he would go in and like we understood like we communicated at first like the things that I would want to retain and the things that he would want to have freedom with too. So that was a very important part, basically setting boundaries, for the creative process and also understanding that I'm not a master in the subject matter. Like I was the master in those characters and in the regions that I was sort of embellishing in the map of his world. And so I think those were the two biggest challenges. One way that we kind of helped with the like knowledge of the locations and the technology and the magic and everything is he did create the encyclopedia for his world, just so that was to prepare for any future writers or creatives that go to create in that world.
So I have like a glossary on our website. Got all the like the information that is in the back of all our hardcovers. So there's good information about it that isn't too spoilery. But then I have like an author central that answers all the spoilers, like everything, like how does this work? Do they get together? Blah, 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 blah. Right. And it's kind of, I knew I was needing that. And actually I was from our friend Amanda. She was like, before, like she just gave me that advice, like before you get anybody to write for you, you need to have this for them because they're not gonna be able to write for you. And the interesting thing to kind of come to the counter of what you're saying now is that you made all these characters, you did all this stuff in my world. And now as I'm writing the next one, I'm coming to you. It's like, hey, do you think she would do this? Like, and then now we're collaborating even more on that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's fantastic. It's a different dynamic when you can consult the proprietor of that property versus when you're working on something that like maybe that person's long dead, whatever. Like anytime I run like a Lord of the Rings RPG, I'm sitting there, I'm legit trying to come up with names that fit the world. And I have like thankfully he's got all these books on language. So like I have one or two and I can just consult them. Like, what's the cinder in for this, whatever. And I've gotten compliments in the first iteration of that game of like, wow, these really sound like Tolkien names. Like, thank you.
It's so fun you have like in the creative like world of everything, you get a sandbox to like play in when you're creating in that person's world. And there should be boundaries.
Absolutely.
And I think within those boundaries, you get to have so much fun. Like I had so much fun writing in Evolved. Not as much fun. I almost think it's more fun than writing in your own stuff because in your own stuff, in your own stories, it's harder to define those boundaries for each book or each story that you are writing. Whereas
it's like the movie though. It's like everybody's got their job.
Creating movie?
No, yeah, or just being in a movie and everything. Because now you can offload some of that weight and you don't have to work as hard to try to create. That's what I meant. Yeah.
I feel though, like sometimes the people who like it more than doing their own stuff are the kind of people who like to be tested.
Sure.
Because you can like, I got this test right versus I'm the one writing the rules for the test,
I wouldn't argue that.
Yeah.
I
had a feeling. I'm not saying, I love doing both. But I also was fine with tests. So there you go.
It's true. That's true. And also because like we say, like the world building that I do is just so labor intensive that it was nice that was like done by you. And I didn't have to do as much of it. It was just exploratory.
It's kind of like if we wrote in today's world, we wouldn't have to do much lifting for that because it would just be like,
It's so
Yeah.
it's like I went to Kmart or Kmart. Actually, no, I went to Walmart.
Wow, you already failed at it.
I'm good at this game. Let me do it
Yeah.
again. See, my eyes is still passing.
That's anachronistic.
Man, says the world builder.
You're
you know?
right.
Yeah, the
Yeah, you
character
built it from
person,
Kmart. No,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
kidding.
Kmart.
The
Yeah.
plotter.
And then it broke immediately.
Yeah, I feel like with plots, like that's one of the most nebulous parts of this, though. Like with working in someone else's property, you're like, okay, world building, keep within these bounds. That's very clear. Characters, okay, like what kind of characters can I make? Names, whatever.
Mhm.
Plots seems like the most nebulous one of those three. And storytelling, obviously, like there are ways of telling a story that would also be really jarring, I think.
Sure.
But I think plot is like what is a sort of example of a plot that, like, how would you make a plot fit somebody's intellectual property? Like if you're writing Sherlock Holmes, for example, you know, like obviously there'd be some kind of mystery or whatever, but
Right.
it would need to be solved through like the methods, the science and all of that.
Mhm.
You're kind of talking about like if you wrote Sherlock Holmes in the future, you know, that kind of.
Well,
like,
I mean, there's Sherlock Holmes movies, and I felt
Yeah.
like they failed because they made the stakes saving the world. And that
is not
I was
It's
Sherlock
just
against
Holmes.
the
thinking that.
world. Like that's not how Sherlock Holmes works.
Yeah.
Because like take House for an example, which took me years to realize that it was a spin-off. I know a spin-off of like the Sherlock Holmes like concept. Because if it was like, you know, world ending, you know, oh
Hello,
no.
cat. Yeah, no.
You heard us talking about the end of the world.
I guess.
Be part of it.
One last meal.
But I think one reason why House worked is because it kept the mystery aspect of it in a science, you know, based way.
Yeah.
But you're right, like it's the plot, like this is fascinating to me. Like I you know, plot is my least favorite thing. Well, no world building is, but it's not the
Whatever's not character is.
Yeah.
like it's interesting to think that plots also need to be similar. Kind of like how we talked about the differences between like speculative fiction versus just like regular fiction,
Yeah.
and how the stakes are typically always different. And so it's almost like the stakes tie into more of that tone aspect,
Yeah.
and the stakes have to be similar, but how to define it, I can only do it from like an analysis standpoint, not from
Yeah.
like determining it. At least at first thought.
Have either of you ever seen the old Highlander TV series?
Yeah.
Not
Yes.
the TV series.
I've seen, yeah.
You remember then that practically every episode somebody got their head cut off towards the end.
Right.
That fanfic that I read, it fit exactly that. I mean, that's a way of measuring the scope. Like,
Sure.
How many
like-
heads get cut off in an
like
episode?
do no heads get cut off because it's like of some kind of weird filler episode
Sure.
where it's this
Yeah.
character development, which would be atypical, or do a bunch of people's heads get cut off? You know,
Right,
like towards the
right.
end. Like, is there not one villain whose head needs to get cut off or whatever? So that might stand out. This is like no one villain head per episode.
That's it. That's
You
our
know,
limit, man.
Maybe they cut off some people's heads earlier, but that's the person that Duncan needs to kill.
Right.
Mm.
And it read kind of like that. So it's sort of like, okay, this is the proper scope. Not that that's the same as having the plot fit, but it's one of the elements of plot.
Sure.
Mm.
You know,
It's a very interesting concept, and until this point I have not thought about that to understand like how.
I'm the voice of plot on this
Yeah,
podcast.
that's
Like I have the plot questions.
Right.
Mhm. No, I think it also. This is fascinating.
Yes.
It really is. Yeah. You stumped me.
Yeah,
Because like in that way, it's almost like the tone of the plot or the like consistencies in those plots are that it's the hero must conquer a villain of some sort. And that is like Highlander thing. You know, there
Right.
can only be one. I assume
Or
that's-
Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
Sure. He must solve the mystery.
Yeah, and
Right.
there's all usually, but not always, of like some kind of villain trying to perpetrate a crime.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
But at least it's one mystery. So
Right.
that you can or cannot involve the villain, but it's one mystery versus one taken head versus one
Right.
whatever.
Right.
Right.
It almost comes to the fact of like genres and what we expect from genres too, because like when you were talking about Sherlock Holmes and mysteries and everything, I was thinking about Knives Out. I don't know if you've seen the third one.
I've not seen any of them.
They're I believe they're some of the best, like, you know,
I've heard good stuff.
Or not sci-fi, mystery. Wow, my brain.
Sci mystery.
But he does something. Rain Johnson does something fantastic in his third one because he's known for like subversion, and in the mystery you need some subversion of like expectations. And he does something in the third one, and I can't say because she still hasn't seen it. And I can't. Why are you happy about that? I want you to see it. But he does something where it's just like he subverts everything about the mystery, but the mystery is still fantastic and still solid. But the story becomes not about the mystery. And I can't explain more than that because I don't want to ruin it. But I love that kind of like still honoring the mystery of it, but trying to find a new way to present it. Like, you know,
right. That's what I thought was, that's what I thought was successful about the Wheel of Time takeover was that all of that did actually play out.
Yeah.
And the plots were tied up. They weren't belittled. They weren't expanded. Yeah. They were fleshed out and tied up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then my thoughts are then that genre, which we know genre sort of determines how you'll feel at the end, right? Horror, typically, you know, tragedy, kind of sad. It depends on the catharsis. So like genre determines the catharsis of the story, of the plot, of whatever happens in the thing, in the creative thing. And I think that catharsis is almost something that we couldn't do an episode on alone because I don't think there's enough to it. And it's sort of like an abstract element.
We're pretty good. I mean,
I think so too. But I think that when we're talking about how does, like, what's the thing you originally said? Like with plot and considering, you know, keeping that consistent, like tonally, the scope of it. I think that you have to have the same kind of like catharsis at the end of something, like in Highlander, in the show versus like
you want the payoff to feel like the same caliber.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for that, again, almost genre, because I was thinking too, when you guys were talking about that earlier, is that like writing in another genre is almost like subletting yourself to like, as in like, if you go and you want to write in this kind of like thing, there's certain things that people expect and everything. And there's certain challenges that you come to it. And yeah, you can maybe like try to put your own flavor on it. Cause even like doing fantasy, like I wanted to build a fantasy that I wanted to read, not because again, I could do better, but it's just like, yeah, I know. Right. But I didn't take someone else's and did like, you know, I'm going to take Lord of the Rings and make it better. No, I just wanted to do sci-fi in a way that, or fantasy in the way that I wanted to, and to no discredit to anybody else. But I also think sometimes about doing romance or something like that too, just as a test. But if I do it, I can't like not do some of the things that are expected in a romance. Like, you know,
right.
You'll be, again, a discredit to that genre. Right?
Yeah. It's like you want those structures there, but you'll approach them your own way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a lot to delve into with all of that stuff. But I think the main thing with working in someone else's world is paying enough respect to it that the plots feel right, the characters feel right, the world building feels right, the storytelling feels right, but you still have room to play and express like your style. Mm-hmm. But where that doesn't take over to where it feels like something else.
Mm-hmm. Don't bastardize it. You know,
that's a good word. Yeah.
Yeah. What a fun topic.
Yeah. Thank you, Oscar. Cause I'm pretty sure you came up with this one. As most of them, I'm not gonna lie. You come up with a lot of things. It
was sort of a softball for you guys because I know that you guys have worked on, you've worked on his stuff and
with football. I put it on the tee for me so I can hit
it. And that's what started me writing. So yeah. Mm-hmm. And then you just keep your momentum and keep going.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Don't give up.
Yeah. Keep trying something different. Like, you know, if something doesn't work, don't be dismayed. Try something different. Try it a new way. Try it a new, you know, genre or way of telling.
Reboot Spider-Man every 10 years.
I mean, that's got to stop.
Leave Spider-Man alone.
Yeah, I know. And that's what, you know what bothers me? I know we're running out of time, but they keep rebooting superheroes, but the same ones. Like we keep seeing Batman, we keep seeing Spider-Man. We keep there's a plethora of them, and this is what they choose.
There's a whole 5 episodes to be done on the lack of courage in Hollywood.
See you guys on Discord.
I've been Rio.
I'm Kate.
I'm Oscar.
We'll check you out later.
Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.